The topic is corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and alternate exterior angles. The essential question is, can you describe and locate corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and alternate exterior angles? So you'll see that I have 3 columns right here, and each of the columns has assigned to it the specific type of angles that I'm going to be talking about within that column. But before we get started on that, I want us to know the definition of something called a transversal, okay? A transversal is a line that intersects 2 or more other lines. Intersects means like cuts through or passes through. Okay, that's a T. Okay, so we're going to begin by identifying where the transversals are in each one of these columns. So a transversal is a line that intersects 2 or more other lines. So here's a line, here's a line. Well, here's the one that intersects it. That is the transversal. I'm going to do it in the same color that I wrote the definition of transversal in so that you will be able to distinguish it. Okay, go ahead and find the transversal here. There it is. It crosses through 2 or more other lines. Okay. Here's our transversal. And right here's our transversal. Go ahead and pause the video and finish it up. Find all the other transversals for each of the other sections, okay? I'm going to keep going. And transversal is kind of a weird word, but you're going to definitely hear it in 8th grade. Transversal. It's a line that intersects 2 or more other lines. Okay, and darken all those transversals, okay? It helps if you use a different color, kind of like I'm doing. Okay. The next thing I want us to do is talk about corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are angles that are in the same spot with respect to 2 lines and a transversal. So I'll explain that in just a moment. They're in the same spot with respect to 2 lines and a transversal. Okay, corresponding angles are in the same spot. So I'm going to cover up half this, and I'm going to just pick an angle here. I don't care which one it is. Let's go ahead and just choose this one right here. And see how that is above the line right here and to the left of the transversal. So now when I cover up this one right here, we're going to look for the same kind of situation. You're going to look for one that's above that line and to the left of the transversal, which would mean this one right there, okay? So take a second right now. Do you see how those are in the same spot? So see how that looks like that? They're in the same spot. There's a couple of other corresponding angles on here, but I'm just going to focus on one pair for right now so you don't get confused, okay? All right, let's pick another one. Let's go with this one. Okay, which one is the corresponding angle that goes with that? See how it's got like that, the blank line, and it's underneath it, and then to the left of the transversal. Okay, so we're going to look up here. We're going to kind of see which one matched in the same spot. So it's right there, okay? Those are called corresponding angles. And there's something special. And this special thing that happens with corresponding angles only happens when the lines are parallel, okay? And we'll talk about it down here. But before we get into that, I want us to answer this little question right here, because you need to know that before we move on. How do you know when lines are parallel to each other? How do you know when lines are parallel to each other? Well, this is how we would know. If lines are parallel to each other, you know, parallel means they will never, ever, ever cross. They're going to have matching tick marks. matching tick marks or dashes. Okay, and here's what I mean. If you're like, what does that mean? It's like this. See how there's like this little guy right there and right there? They're like matching little triangle things. See how they're matching, matching, matching? That means that this line and this line are parallel to each other. They will never ever cross. Now, just because they look like they're parallel, don't you ever dare assume, okay? In geometry, they have to either tell you or have the matching tick marks. So another way that you can tell that lines are parallel is it's going to be stated. They'll tell you, okay? And there's a couple ways they can show you that they are parallel. Yep, with the tick marks, but right here. See this right here? This means parallel. This means line P is parallel to line Q, okay? It tells me right there, so I know P and Q, those two lines are parallel to each other. Do they have the matching tick marks? No, because they didn't need it. They tell me right here, okay? So they'll be stating it that way, or they'll like write out a sentence for you. Line R and line W are parallel. They're never going to cross. And again, up here, this means parallel. And I know it looks like an 11, but this is line T is parallel to line V, okay? These ones right here, they're parallel because they have the matching tick marks. These right here are parallel because they have the matching little tick marks, okay? So now moving on, back to here, I told you something was very special with corresponding angles when the lines are parallel. Now I'm going to explain what that is. So only when the lines are parallel will corresponding angles be congruent. Okay? Congruent is maybe a word that you may not have heard for quite a while. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what congruent means. Okay? This symbol means congruent. And what does congruent mean? It means same size, same shape, same angle measure. All three of those, same size, same shape, and same angle measure. So if something is congruent to something else, it fits these three criteria. This means angle. So congruent means same size, same shape, same angle measure, okay? So when the two lines are parallel, two or more lines are parallel to each other and it's matching, and you have corresponding angles in the same spot, those angles will be congruent. So here's what I mean by that. So this angle right here is 128 degrees because it's measured right there. I used a protractor to measure that. Well, since this line is parallel to this line, its corresponding angle will also be 128 degrees. And that only happens because these two lines are parallel to each other. So this is 128 degrees and this is its corresponding angle. It will also be 128 degrees. Okay? That only happens when the lines are parallel. Look up here. See how this line is not parallel to this line? So these two angle measures, they're not going to be equal to each other. They might be kind of close, but they're not. And also right here, see how this line is not parallel to the other line? Those two will not be the same angle measure. Only when the lines are parallel will corresponding angles be congruent. So let's take a look at this other one right here. This angle measure is 43 degrees, so which one is its corresponding angle? Which one is like above the transversal and to the right of the line? Let's see. Above the transversal to the right of the line right here. Corresponding angles. So this will be 43 degrees. Okay? This is the arc I drew. It's not 143, it's 43 degrees. Okay? All right. The next type of angles I want to talk about are called alternate interior angles. And those are angles that are inside of two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So this word interior, that means inside. Like if you have interior house paint, that's inside house paint, okay? So that's where they come up with this. Interior means inside. They're angles that are inside two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, and where they get the opposite sides, that's where they come up with the word alternate. All right, and here is what it looks like pictorially. So right here we have a line and another line, and they're cut by a transversal. because transversals cut two or more lines. You know, they intersect them. So right there's our transversal. And let's say I'm talking about this angle right here, okay? And I want to find its alternate interior angle to this. Well, look, they're inside two lines. So here's a line, here's a line. So they're going to be inside of them, okay? They're going to be in between those two lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. So inside and then on opposite sides. Now this is kind of silly, but this is how I remember it. Alternate interior angles. I think of something like, okay, we're in a house. So here's your house. And then that green thing, that's a transversal. But I'm like, okay, that's a coffee table. So you're going to jump over the coffee table on the other side diagonally. Boom. Okay, so those are alternate interior angles. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this other one. What's the alternate interior angle to this guy right here? Okay, look inside, interior. You're going to jump over the coffee table to the other side. Okay, alternate interior angles. So there's also something very special with alternate interior angles, but only when the lines are parallel. These lines, they're not parallel. These lines are not parallel. Okay, it doesn't tell us that they're parallel, so don't ever assume. So only when the lines are parallel will alternate interior angles be congruent. And you don't have to write out the word congruent because we know that there's a symbol. And if you forgot what the heck congruent means same size, same shape, same angle measure, okay? So, if this angle right here is 53 degrees, then its alternate interior angle will also be 53 degrees only because line T is parallel to line V, because they tell us. So if this right here is 53 degrees, its alternate interior angle is also 53 degrees, okay? And again, they're alternate interior angles because see how they're on the inside and on opposite sides of the transversal. They jumped over that little coffee table inside. Okay, the next example down here. Look, R and W, those lines are parallel to each other. So this angle is 141 degrees, and its alternate interior angle to it is this guy right here. And since the lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are congruent, so this would be 141 degrees also, okay? The next column is going to talk about alternate exterior angles. So think about what the word exterior means. Well, exterior means outside. So angles that are outside of two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal, because see how we got alternate right there? That's where they come up with this opposite. So angles that are on the outside of two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal are called alternate exterior angles. So I'm going to go ahead and show you an example. So right here we got two lines and then they're cut by a transversal. Let's pretend we're talking about this one, okay? And I wanted to know, gosh, what's the alternate exterior angle to that? Well, it's going to be outside of the two lines. So here's the two lines, so it's going to be on the outside. Remember how interior was inside? Well, it's going to be on the outside. So I'm going to use my pinky to cover it up, okay? It's going to be on the outside of those two lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So you're basically jumping over the house, okay? So you're like, boink, diagonally, okay? Jumping over diagonally like that. So those right here, right there, are alternate exterior angles. Okay, let's try another one. How about this guy right here? Alternate exterior angles. So you're going to go, it's not on the inside, so don't even look there, but it's right there, okay? And there's also something very special about alternate exterior angles, but only when the lines are parallel. So only when the lines are parallel will alternate exterior angles be congruent. And I'm going to write out congruent. Okay, or you could do the symbol, but they mean the same thing. Okay, so we know that this line is parallel to this line. Do you know why? Because they have matching little marks right there, okay? So, because of those lines being parallel to each other, the alternate exterior angles will be congruent. So the alternate exterior angle to this 122 degree angle, go outside those lines, and it's going to be right there. So if this is 122 degrees, this is also 122 degrees, okay? Okay, now the next one, let's make sure those lines are parallel. Yep, look at these weird looking tick marks. See how they have two dashes? Well, they're matching. I know they may look a little bit weird, but they are matching, meaning that this line is parallel to this line. So if this is 77 degrees, This angle, its alternate exterior angle, is 77 degrees also. Okay? Because only when the lines are parallel will alternate exterior angles be congruent. And I want you to answer this, and I know there's not much room, but you're going to fit it right under there. When the lines are parallel, what should you know about the 3 types of angles above? Alright, on this page, it's going to require you to practice what you learned on the first page of these notes, and it's also going to provide you some review, okay? So, letter A says color the vertical angles. Each set should be a different color. You will need 4 colors. So vertical angles they weren't talked about on the first page of these notes. You got to kind of reach back in your memory banks when we first talked about vertical angles, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and show you the first one. Vertical angles look like this. So if I'm going to pick one of the colors. I'm going to do 1 out of the 4. You need 3 more colors to do this by yourself. Vertical angles are right across from each other. So angle 1 and angle 4. Okay. Now grab more colors and show me the rest of the vertical angles in this situation. Okay. But the most important thing, well, one of the most important things about vertical angles is they're going to be congruent, no matter what. Okay. So when they're across from each other like this, they're going to be congruent. So if this was like 135, this is 135 degrees, this is also 135 degrees. So grab another color and show me that angle 2 and 3 are also vertical, okay? And 5 and 8 are vertical to each other, and 7 and 6 are vertical to each other. The next question requires you to color the alternate exterior angles. Color each set a different color. You're going to need 2 colors. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one of them. Remember, alternate exterior angles. That's just like on the first page. Here, I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. Its alternate exterior angle would be 8. Okay, grab another color, finish that off. But I want you to fill this out. When the lines are parallel, alternate exterior angles are what? We just talked about it on the front page. So if you don't remember, please turn back to the front page and finish that sentence, in addition to showing me the other alternate exterior angles. Letter C. Color the alternate interior angles. Color each set a different color. You will need 2 colors. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one alternate interior angle. Let's see, 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles to each other. And I want you to finish this sentence. When the lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are blank. If you don't know, go ahead and look on the previous page because we did just talk about that. Letter D. Color the corresponding angles. Each set should be a different color. You will need 4 colors. So I'm going to show you one of the possibilities for corresponding angles. But then you're going to pick, different colors and find the rest of them. So corresponding angles are in the same spot. So like 4 is in the same spot as 8. Those are corresponding angles, okay? Now, these 2 lines aren't parallel to each other because it doesn't tell me they are. But if they were, when the lines are parallel, corresponding angles are what? Okay, what's so special about corresponding angles? Only when those lines are parallel to each other. All right, let's go ahead and look at another example. Color the pairs of supplementary angles. Each set should be a different color. And you're going to need 8 different colors for this to find all the supplementary angles, okay? I want you to remember, supplementary, they are angles, 2 angles that add up to a sum of 180 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you one of them. Angle 2 and angle 1. I'm sorry, yeah. Does that say 2? Sorry, that says 3. Angle 3 and angle 1. Those are supplementary to each other. See, when I connect their arcs, they form a half circle. So angle 3's degrees plus angle 1's degrees will equal 180 degrees. They're an example of supplementary angles. Another one. Let's find one down here. Oh, I need a different color. 2 and 4. Those are supplementary. You can do 7 and 8. When you add those together, there are degree measures. You're going to have 180 degrees, okay? So I knocked out 2 of the 8 examples that you need to find. All right, now the last one for this page. It says that you got to color the pairs of complementary angles, and each set should be a different color. You're going to need 2 colors to fulfill the requirements for this one, okay? Complementary angles have a sum of how many degrees? Right, how many degrees complementary angles add up to? There are 2 angles that add up to a certain degree. And I'm going to show you one of the two examples. Let's see right there, that's 90. So its vertical angle will also be 90, so that will be 90. So a pair of complementary angles would be angle 10 and angle 2, because their sum is 90 degrees because of the box. So go ahead and find that last pair of complementary angles according to this, okay? Now this line is not parallel to this line. I mean, it looks like it, but it doesn't tell me that, so I'm not going to assume that those are parallel, okay? All right, finish this up.